Hello, everyone. This is Shaina Silva. I'm here with my co host, Daniel Silva, and this is Haiti Prosperity Podcast. In the last episode, we talked about education at scale, and we gave a lot of examples around how we might educate Haitians at scale, leveraging technology. In this episode, I want to touch on the how of education at scale. What structured mechanism can be used to ensure that all Haitians have access to an education, a common education, and that no Haitians are left behind? So, Dad, I know you have some pretty strong ideas around a mechanism that could be very useful, powerful, transformative to ensure that the education is at scale is not only organized and structured, but can be put to use immediately. Can you share a little bit of your thoughts on what that mechanism is?
Well, in regular schooling, the basic education and the basic tools that we've talked about will be used and taught in school. But in past episodes, we've talked about doctrine, the sense of Haitianity, and a sense somehow to participate in the resiliency of the country. In order to be participative in such enterprise, such a national enterprise, I believe somehow Haitians need to be recruited into a service system. So, whether it's at the end of high school, for example, the youth would go through a service system to understand their role as far as defending the doctrine, the country, and participate in the resiliency of the country. And within that service period, which could last, let's say, a year at the most, there are several areas of defense that could be um, instilled into those individuals going through the mechanism that you asked about, and military being one of them. Because when we are talking about a country, it needs to be protected. Protected against foreign powers, not necessarily against itself, but against potential competitors, just like any other organization. So military defense and it helps at building a strong and formidable defense that makes potential aggressors think twice before attacking the country. And we have to think of the country needing such system in place. If you look at historically all those forts that are around, that were built around the country, it's to protect the country against aggressors that were going to come. So historically, and actually, that is a need in terms of the country. So that would be one form of education within that service mechanism that we are talking about. And also, the population would need to support such service, such national service, because the public is the support of the public is extremely important in terms of yeah, encouraging the existence and the fact that sons of and daughters are going through that process, that mechanism. Another element that would be instilled within that service period is civil defense as opposed to military. And what would those civil defenders or those skills entail? So it's the ability to spot signs of threats, respond effectively, and recover quickly from crisis. Remember, in the resilience topic that we went through, we talked about recovering quickly from events, from natural events or any other such event. So the civil defense notion is, it's important that the Haitians have such skills.
So it's a day-to-day risk management.
It's a day-to-day risk management. How do they do that? It's by understanding their roles in an emergency situation, and participating in such exercise actively. Remember, in the resiliency principles, we talked about running drills from time to time so that people have a good sense of their role within exactly. Yes, be it water, food, rationing, community emergency preparedness, those kinds of notions. One has to be very well prepared to respond. Use life-saving skills, first aid, etc. So that's what those people would know in terms of a civil defense skill set. Uh, Another interesting aspect that the youth would learn within that service moment is economic defense. And that's not a well known area that I think would bring some innovation in terms of the Haitian mindset itself, is to defend the economy of the country. So, because this is asking you not to be selfish at this point. So, a strong and resilient economy that's globally competitive and able to bounce back from any crisis. Again, resiliency, economic resiliency. So essentially, what we mean by economic defense, it's by strengthening the competitiveness and the attractiveness of Haiti's economy so that we are special and relevant to the world.
That you have a value proposition
That's
that you
correct.
defend.
Exactly. So it's about keeping our economy strong and resilient, enabling it to carry on and recover quickly. Should we be confronted by any challenge or crisis in the future, such as global downturn or economic strangulation, or other natural disasters? Everyone would have a role to play in defending the economy in such circumstance. So those are that's an innovation in terms of a doctrine for Haitian to be involved in. And when you talk about economic defense, just conserving energy, conserving water, conserving the natural resources that are around you contribute to defend the economy, because other people, they are assets.
Those
So
are your
there is
revenue
no
generating assets.
correct, and they contribute to the general country's
Sustenance.
economy. So you have to defend that. You have to adopt environmentally friendly practices, so you are not having a bunch of waste,
Waste.
not just waste in the sense of garbage, but wasting energy, food, waste, land, water, etc. That's what we mean by economic defense, having a conscience about every your behavior vis-a-vis the economy of the
And it
country.
means trade agreements that are suitable for the country to
Um,
thrive as well.
correct,
Favorable.
correct, favorable.
Yeah.
Besides that, we would talk about cultural defense within that service period, whereby the youth would learn about different groups within the country, their culture, because Haiti is a multicultural country. And even through the art, when you look at the art, the music, and the paintings, and the other art manifestations, different groupings have different styles in their art expression. So that shows you a form of multiculturalism within the country. So somehow one has to learn a little more about cultures within that multicultural society. So one has to be sensitive and respectful of other even races in the country, or other skin colors that are, subject of discussions quite often. But the respectfulness of those differences are extremely important. Empathy toward one another, whichever differences may exist between those different folks. Show, consideration and understanding to new citizens. Sometimes when a foreigner comes in and wants to become a Haitian, understand that person, and in fact welcome that new citizen, and help them at understanding the Haitian way of life, and sharing with them different practices, or the different groups that exist, as opposed to creating distances with such new citizens.
Which we see happen with the diaspora, where
Exactly. So,
Haitians will, local Haitians, uh, we see this surface when diaspora enter Haiti, and sometimes they get labeled as foreigners because they're not Haitian enough. They haven't lived in the country. They don't even speak the language sometimes. So even a Haitian living outside of Haiti, also named a diaspora, can be unwelcomed in certain circumstances.
that's correct. So, that would be part of the cultural defense, because the diaspora person may have been isolated from the day-to-day local activities and mannerism. However, they have things in common with Haitians. So the part that lagging should be shown, and encouraged by people that have different knowledge of the culture. So they should look out for everyone, and helping the less fortunate, or also and underprivileged among us. There is a distance in that also. So within the service, if you get the notion of caring, or understanding the underprivileged, and somehow have a sense of empathy and helping others at elevating
Rising.
themselves, is extremely important.
Important. Yeah. And I think in what you shared in this sort of service mechanism, defense or military defense, civil defense, economic defense feel like the backbone, and cultural defense feels like the heart. If you think about culture in an organization, that is the heartbeat of an organization, knowing how to interact with one another, how to behave, having a common set of values. It's extremely important. So I like the cultural defense one because it is It's a mindset shift around what it means to be Haitian, not just being born in Haiti, but your Haitianity, even as a foreigner. We have a lot of Americans, we're in the United States right now, who are immigrants, who have been welcomed in the American context and are now hyphenated American. You're Nigerian American, you're Guatemalan American, you're Salvadorian American, you're Mexican American, Haitian American. You can have Haitians become hyphenated as well
Of course.
if you welcome them.
Of course, of course. Let me give you one last element within that service that somehow the youth need to get a notion of is psychological defense. And I will clarify what I mean by that. It's the will and resolve to defend Haitian way of life and interests and the fighting spirit to overcome challenges together. So that's a psychological defense. Because Haiti's ability to overcome threats and challenges that come our way depends on the collective will of our people to defend our way of life. That's psychological right there. The resolve to stand up for Haiti when pressured by forces that undermine our national interests, and the fighting spirit to press on and overcome crisis together. And that's resilience at its best, right there. So, how do you do that within the service? They'll teach them how to, well, not teach, but just get them through being proud to be Haitian and prepared to stand up to defend Haiti in times of crisis by developing resilience again, the word is coming back, and the strength to return to our normal activities as soon as possible after a crisis hits, and understanding our history and the principles that helped Haiti succeed, and having a strong resolve to stay united and keep Haiti strong and special. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And it actually reminds me, when I was living in Nigeria, I I got a taste of this service mechanism that you're talking about. It was called the Nigerian Youth Service Corps, where after graduating from high school, students would go and spend a year in service in different parts of the country with a group of other youth and spend time learning the national anthem, spend time learning survival skills, spend time learning what it means to be Nigerian and interacting with their peers. And at the end of that service period, they would be placed into different aspects of the country's management, whether it's education management, health management, environmental management, and they would spend a few months putting their skills to putting their skills into practice during that period. I found that that was transformative, and I had a chance to teach entrepreneurship to some of these youth during that program, because a big part of it is having them learn skills not only to serve the country, but to contribute to the economy of the country, either as part of the workforce, as an employee, or as an entrepreneur. And I participated in the entrepreneurship track. So once they were done with the service, they had all of these skills. They knew how to be an employee, they knew how to be an entrepreneur, and they can have a choice. I think that's the biggest part of this sort of mechanism, is that it also gives you a choice. Whereas today, what we're seeing in Haiti is that people don't have too many choices. And we see this happening a lot in the marginalized communities where young people are joining gangs. Because what are the options that you have? There aren't too many options. or some people are leaving the country. So, having a service defense like this and being able to teach skills along the lines of military defense, civil defense, economic defense, cultural defense, psychological defense, you are so prepared to defend Haiti that even in the face of crisis you will not leave, you will stand up, you'll recover and bounce back. That is resilience.
Absolutely. And in fact, just as a side note of this, when the private sector or even the public sector would get recommendation from people that have gone through such a service, because that becomes the reference, because nowadays they can ask, do you know that person, and vaguely people, so it's not sort of the know your customer kinds of things. You don't know the people, because but if you go through the service, somehow the organization says, oh no, that person went through the service, and people are proud of hiring such people because they know the morale that exists. They can relate to the person. So the whole thing of not trusting, so the trust gets back through an institution as opposed to a guess game.
Yes, actually, that's a very good point that you make, because going back to the example of the Nigerian Youth Service Corps, one of the things that always came up with anyone that I worked with across Nigeria, whether it was in Abuja or Lagos, is where did you spend your youth corps service time? And it was a bonding moment for them. 1 full year, almost like a Boy Scout or Girl Scout, learning survival skills, going through the same really tough conditions of learning. When you go through that, like a rite of passage, it does create this sense of bonding together and this sense of knowing that you all have learned similar things. So, yes, I agree with you. Now, this service corps could be an incredible starting point for Haiti today. And if it were implemented right now, we can get millions of youth into a mechanism that would put their idle hands to use and their idle minds to use, not just to learn something in a traditional education system, but to relearn how to be Haitian, learn how to serve your country, and then put that learning into practice by actually going into different government agencies and helping to rebuild, or even private sector and helping to rebuild the education system, rebuild the health sector, rebuild everything from scratch. We could start right now with just that.
Let's do that
Let's
then.
do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. So I think this episode concludes season 1 of Haiti Prosperity. And this has served this series of episodes that we've um, developed over the past couple of months really serve as a baseline for how to think about Haiti's prosperity. We've talked about frameworks and tools. We've talked about the current state and future state. Um, and this baseline is important for us to have a fundamental understanding of what we're working with right now. Fundamental understanding. Because if we start talking about things that are too far ahead without understanding the fundamentals, we may not be able to actually put this learning into practice. And we do want that these episodes become insightful enough for someone to use and put into practice, or share and have conversations around what can we do to take this further and put it into practice. So, Dad, any final closing words as we conclude season 1 of Haiti prosperity?
Well, first of all, I'll say that it was an honor to address your audience. It was a great podcast. It really helped me at pulling things out of one's mind. Um, Also, in all humility, we'll say that this exchange was just an exchange of aspiration, of dreams, nothing coming out of specialized research or anything of that sort. It's just an exchange, and with all its limitations, but with also its dreams and aspirations. So I was excited every time to participate in this season one. Thank you.
Awesome. 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 And so this concludes Haiti Prosperity Season 1. Stay tuned. Follow us on social media on all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, and maybe soon even Clubhouse. Thank you.